everybody, it's Tess from the Curiosity Project. The audio for this episode and the next couple of episodes in this season on my end is quite poor. That's because my microphone broke and I had to use some alternatives. As you can hear, that has been fixed now. I have a new audio setup, but that doesn't kick in until episode 5. So unfortunately, I'm sorry, but this episode's audio on my end isn't going to be too amazing. On the plus side, Brian Murphy's audio is amazing, and I believe that the discussion is even better. Okay, enjoy the show. Who are you?
My name is Brian Murphy. I am a writer and a performer, more so, I guess, podcaster at this point. I haven't done any kind of sketch performing or anything in a while, but my background was in sketch writing and performing for College Humor, and since have moved on to mostly doing my D&D podcast, Not Another D&D podcast, and performing on Dimension 20 with College Humor's Dropout.
What are the 3 things you value most in life?
Oh boy. What are the 3 things I value most in life? I'm one of those people where if somebody just says like, what's your favorite band? I can't even think of a musical act. I can't even think of a band. What are the 3 things I value most in life? Number 1 would be the people who are close to me, my wife, Emily, who, in addition to, we get to kind of share all sides of life together because we have the one side of it, which is like, we're best friends who get to live together and everything, and it's very wonderful. And then on the other side, it's like we're also creative partners, so we get to share all the kind of ups and downs of all of that. I have somebody who I respect and look up to their work, and it's hard to explain. There's definitely like hard parts about working together because again, it is like anytime you're feeling sad about a project or something, they're probably feeling sad about a project too. But that also means that you get to kind of go through that process together and figure it out together. And we really are partners in every sense of the word. And I'm very, very thankful for that. And then I've always been very fortunate to have a close group of friends who I've known. Some of the people I've known since I was in elementary school or high school, and we still text pretty often. A lot of them are pretty far away now because I'm out in LA and they're on the East Coast. But I'm not particularly great at meeting new people, or like anytime I would have taken like an improv class or like a jiu-jitsu class or something, anytime people find out that I'm a comedian or something, they're always shocked because I'm just very quiet and I'm just not good at making friends, so I have to hang on to the ones that I have. But I've always had this kind of core crew of people that I've known for a long time, and then through College Humor and through Dimension 20 and through Not Another D&D podcast and everything, all the people I've worked with have also become my close friends, and it's been wonderful to have this excuse to kind of work with people that I really enjoy being around. And then number 2 would be Cats, not the musical.
Okay.
The animal cat, not the musical cat. No, I love cats. I'm crazy for cats.
Jellicles need to do Jellicle does. All
I
the
love. I totally know what that means. I know what Jellicle cats are. Emily and I we adopted 2 cats like maybe five years ago at this point. And at the time, I had never had cats growing up. My family always had dogs. And we just got cats because I was kind of like, I don't know, I like to travel. I like to not be a lot of my friends who have dogs, it'll just be like, my dog has behavioral problems. We can't have people over. Just don't look at him in the eyes. He'll go crazy and he'll bite somebody. And we're taking him to dog therapy. And we have to be home to take him out 19 times a day. And it's like, you have a baby. That's you're an actual parent. But so I was like, oh, we'll get cats. That's fine. They're a little bit easier. But I just absolutely fell in love with them. And then when we moved out to the valley, which is more like the suburbs, we're in a neighborhood now that has a lot of stray cats in it. And so we, at first, we were just like, oh, cute cats or whatever. But then a pregnant cat showed up in our backyard, and we've never dealt with anything like that before. But we started feeding her, because at first we were like, okay, we can't feed the strays. They're going to like all swarm to our place. We can't deal with this. But then we got this pregnant cat. We were like, we gotta help this little girl. So we slowly like earned her trust. And then eventually, when she had her babies, she brought them to us. And it was this whole very sweet, just, I'm not a nature-y person. I'm not I like animals, but I've never been particularly in tune with nature or anything like that. Like, I don't like camping. I don't like the outdoors, basically. Kind of bonding with this cat and everything, and then we got into like the trap, neuter, release stuff with like helping the cats in our community. So like we got some of her kittens we got adopted. One of them we brought in to live with us. We've got a cat colony in our backyard that we take care of. We also get them like trapped and neutered and everything. So if anybody's listening and they're like, stray cats kill birds, I know, we're taking care of them. We're good. And so just to, be a part of that, to like help an animal raise its young, and then to make sure they're all taken care of, has been a wonderful thing that that makes me feel feelings that I've never had before. Like, I'm not a dad. I'm not like, I don't get those like moments of joy like that. So that was very wonderful. And then I guess what are the things I value most in life? What would number 3 be? And then I guess 3 would be time. I have a lot of anxiety, and everything is very like go for me. So anytime I feel like there's no better feeling for me than when I've just finished a project and I don't have anything going on for like a couple days. I truly love that moment. When I work with Emily's a really great artist in that she really enjoys the process, and I am more of like a run around, like pulling my hair out, just like just furiously trying to think of ideas and stuff and driving myself crazy, and then finally getting it done, and then I relax and it feels wonderful. And I truly love the feeling of like just resting from my own mind, resting from my own anxieties, just getting a little time to just be like, I have absolutely nothing to do. And now I can like think about things that aren't whatever I'm obsessed with at the moment.
You are from the fuck you boom school of artistry. Yeah. Fuck you boom. I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me as well. When I was writing my dissertation this year, which I just finished, I let out a yelp of joy the moment I typed the last word. I was like, fuck you. Fuck you. What are you going to do, Take a step back, bitch. And this is me screaming at a computer that doesn't scream back, but it's satisfying to just get it done. So I completely relate to that. You are the first person to say time. Most people say food,
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not I was about to say I'm not a food person, which sounds like an insane thing to say, but my family, like, we ate like chicken nuggets and spaghetti every week. So like my palate is like, my ideal meal is just eating a Domino's pizza and a bag of pretzels or something. Like I am the worst. I do enjoy good food and things like that, but I don't cook, and I'm much more about quantity over quality. Like I'm completely tricked by whatever terrible chemicals are in fast food. It works for me. I actually enjoy, like you could, if somebody called me right now and was like, I mean, if a pandemic wasn't happening, but if somebody was like, do you want to go meet at Pizza Hut, I would be like, yeah, that sounds like a wonderful night for me. I would do that.
Me fucking too. I can't. I'm trying so hard to cook. I'm trying, but I just want a burger. Like there's 10 minutes from my house, there is a fast food restaurant, 10 minutes drive, and I can't drive, so it's kind of, there's a good barrier. I'm like, sometimes I just want the chicken burger. Please just give it to me. I don't care about anything else. I don't want your fancy. Like, I'm now cooking because I'm watching this series called A Life Well Tasted. So there was a dude called Robert Ashley, who I've had on the show, kind of a creative hero of mine, who did this podcast back in the early 2000s called A Life Well Wasted. Recently he started up A Life Well Tasted, where it's just him recording himself cooking stuff. And I can't cook, but it's mindless. And during quarantine, I'm like, ooh, look at that. It's like Narcissus, you know? Oh, yeah. And so I've started cooking the things that he's cooking on his show. It's like,
that's great. You'll get good quick, I bet. Yeah, I think what people need to like get into cooking is they need that kind of right? They need to like find some way to make them kind of passionate about it. I think the two things kind of play into each other, like me saying, that about time and everything, is that like when I eat, it's like I do not want to work. I do not want to do anything. It is the release at the end of the day. It's like I just eat, like I'll have a piece of toast and black coffee and then a protein bar later. And then for dinner, I'll eat like a quesadilla and a rack of ribs, like just some insane thing. It's all like that kind of release for me. So the idea that I would make like a really well prepared meal and then kind of daintily eat it is, I don't relate to it at all. I like good food. I don't want to sound like, if you take me to a nice restaurant, that I'll be like, oh, I wish I was at Applebee's. But But yeah, I guess in a way I like all food. So in a way, I'm more of the foodie than other people.
Well, funny story actually about Applebee's. Me and my family went to the States for the first time in 2016, and we were like, Applebee's, this place is the fucking bomb. This place is amazing. And then I was chatting to a couple of Americans at a later point, and they were like, Applebee's is shit. What are you even doing? What are you doing? And we were like, this is the best place ever. This is so cheap and delicious and stuff. Yeah, it's like, and that's not me like, corporate whoring for Applebee's here. It's just we had no idea, and it's not like we ate shit here. It's just we thought it was really good. Yeah, but different palates.
Yeah, no, I it's definitely a weird thing because there is they are corporations, all of these things, but there's also sort of an elitism to being like, oh, you can't like this kind of food. It's just like you don't like buffalo wings no matter what. Like you don't like mozzarella. It's mozzarella sticks. How do you mess it up? It's fine. But in the end, what I am doing, I've got this like blue collar pride for corporations. Like this is crazy. Like why am I making this argument? I'm just wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm wrong. Like okay. We're wrong, and it's fine. But it's fine to be wrong about something so silly.
Tell me a memory which shaped you.
Oh boy. When I was, this is actually not that distant of a memory, but it was something that impacted me. I'm 35 now. I think this was probably this was actually probably 10 years ago. Yeah, time moves, huh? Yeah, so this is actually pretty further away than I thought it was. About 10 years ago, I was running dorkly.com, which was like College Humor's like nerd site. So we did, video game videos and things like that. And so I was the editor, and that was my first time kind of having any kind of oversight of other people. At that point in my professional career, it had always been like I was an assistant, or I was a junior editor, or I was whatever. So I was always answering to other people, and I was always looking to other people for that kind of final say. And I remember one time we had an article come out on the front page of Dorkly. There was always like at like 6 o'clock. This is back when websites were a thing. It would at 6 o'clock would be like when your big article for the day, because that would be at the top of like the blog roll. So your big article for the day would go up at the end of the day, and someone had sent me the article that was scheduled. They sent it late, and it didn't look great. It was, I say article, but I think it was like a series of images, and the images didn't come out great. It was like a little bit poorly photoshopped, but it was fine, and it was like funny enough. So I put it up, and my boss, Streeter, who was at, technically he worked for College Humor, but he was like the editor there, so like outranked me, so could like come to Dorkly and be like, hey, what's going on here or something. And I remember he saw that article, and he was like, hey man, this doesn't look good. You have to like take it down. And I remember being kind of annoyed and being like, well, I like it's late, and this person sent me this thing, and it doesn't look very good, and almost kind of like pushing the blame onto them. And he's like, hey, you're the editor, like figure it out. Like, this doesn't look good. Your website doesn't look good right now. This is kind of like your thing to deal with. And at that moment, that was it sounds sort of just like a really small thing, but at that moment was a big shift in my life, where I went from being like, oh, somebody else will fix it, to being like, okay, now I'm going to go in the other direction. And now I am usually the safety net under which other people can mess up, and I will figure it out. Like I triple check everything. If I post a podcast at 1 a.m. or something, and like NADPOD is like heavily edited, and if there's like a blip in the audio, there's a chance that I have heard it, and at 4 a.m. there will be a new cut up. Like, and that's, to a certain extent, that's workaholism, and that's not completely healthy. But I do remember that being a big moment for me of just being like, hey, if you want to be this creative leader, then you have to take responsibility. You are responsible for the things that you put out there, whether it be quality, or whether it be like, if I have somebody on like a podcast or something, and they say like crazy conspiracies or something, and I just like put it out there, that's my fault. You know what I mean? So just this idea of kind of taking responsibility with being a leader, and not just being like, oh, I get to do whatever I want, and now I'm just going to put this up and go home. It's like, no, you should have, this article, I could have, once I saw the signs that it wasn't coming in on time, I could have prepared something else. I could have done other things. I could have put myself in this position where I didn't I didn't screw it up. And it was my fault, and it wasn't the writer's fault, because they're just a freelancer. So like, what do they care? It's my responsibility.
I've had that with this show as well. Like when I'm trying to source guests and stuff, it's kind of like recently enough, I had a pretty decently big a former Star Trek actor like message me on Twitter, and I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting. Like, do you want to be on my show or whatever? And then I mentioned it to a friend of mine just kind of offhandedly, and they were like, no, this person is like a super big piece of shit. Are you aware of that? I was like, oh, Okay.
Yeah, it's so disappointing when that happens, especially when it's something like dear to your heart, like something like Star Trek, which you may have grown up with or something like that. But yeah, you as the podcast host have to decide. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on this because this would be promoting this person.
Like, what I had to do then is I had to go like, and it's not even that they're like a normal piece of shit and they just have questionable views. No, they had like on record done some horrific stuff that I just didn't know about. So I went,
Yeah.
okay, blocked, and I'm gonna make just a tweet about this saying like, this person followed me, I didn't know anything, I've blocked them now, eat shit, move on. Like,
Yeah.
again, I like that the buck stops with you. There's no one else. Like, this show is tiny. No one cares, but I care. It's
Right.
It's
Yeah.
my integrity. I care, and so like having that sort of. I haven't had a memory exactly like that. I think more kind of a long term, just the way kind of my house was set up. That's kind of the way we operated. But I totally get that. What's your favorite color?
Oh boy. What is my favorite color? I think my favorite color changes. I think I like, when it comes to colors, I think I like unexpected familiarity. I like the basics. I like red, blue, green, purple. Those are I like those four probably in alternating. Like anytime I play like a fighting game or something, and if you choose a character and the other person chooses the character too, so you get like an alt costume for them, like they come up in a different color, I always prefer how they look in the alt costume. So like even if I say right now my favorite color is red, if I see a red character turn blue, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I like the way this blue looks. I really like this blue. Like I have a punching bag in my backyard and it's red, and I picked it as red because I thought red was my favorite color. But if it was blue today, I would be really excited. I'd be like, this is cool. I like this cool punching bag. So yeah, I would say red, blue, green, purple. But if I have something in my room that's red, I will wish it was a different color, and I'll change it to something blue, and then it kind of rotates. I like it when things are unexpected, but I'm not like, oh, it needs to be seafoam green or something like that.
Someone
It doesn't
has
need
said
to be
seafoam
like
green.
Really?
Yeah. The fact that you,
That's
fantastic.
That's very, very funny. I think of seafoam green because of we make a lot of jokes on NADPOD about liking, a lot of us grew up with Blink 182, and the guitarist Tom DeLonge had a seafoam green Stratocaster, so we always talk about DeLonge's seafoam green Stratocaster. So anytime I think of a joke about a specific a very specific color, I always think of seafoam green.
Tell me in as much detail as you can about something you knew of which once existed and now does not.
This may come off as a little basic, but I mean, privacy, both in the sort of nefarious ways in which our data is being collected by corporations and stuff, and then also just in the way we all interact. Just I've had to make a very conscious effort to not. I basically had to completely. I basically don't tweet anymore. I don't use Instagram anymore, and I don't do any of that stuff. And it's almost completely. It's for my mental health. It's this idea that like it's very, very hard to work in this industry of creating podcasts or doing sketch comedy videos or anything like that, where you kind of have to promote yourself online. So you do have to have some presence. So all of this stuff is like very, very addictive, right? So to a certain extent, you're just like, I'm an alcoholic who has to take a couple sips of beer every day, and it's tough. And I think we all have we're all living in a world where we're all being judged all the time. And I think there was a time where that wasn't the case. I'm old enough where I didn't have a cable modem until I was like 14 or 15. The idea of cyberbullying or something like that, like it didn't really happen. Like you just got you got good old fashioned bullied in person, which is terrible, but it doesn't follow you home or anything like that. And I don't even know how I would grow up with, again, as somebody with anxiety who gets very obsessive about these things, just this idea of having to go home and thinking about, oh, everybody is still looking at me. Everybody, my Facebook page is up, or whatever the kids are using, my TikTok or something like that. Everybody is still looking at me, and I can't escape it. I can't imagine what that is like. I feel privileged that, you know, as somebody in their 30s, my social circle isn't as much dependent on it. Like people can kind of opt in if they want to. But just this idea of kind of, I mean, I remember in high school, like losing sleep because I would think somebody was mad at me or something like that, let alone if I could like go to their Instagram and see that they were hanging out with other people without me and be like, oh, they are mad at me, or even, or they leave a mean comment or something like that. It's just, I wish this generation had a little bit of space from being judged. I think I will. I feel like I've kind of stumbled into what I actually think has disappeared. It's less about privacy, because I think you can keep some things private, but it's just like if you're not on social media, you're judged for being, you know, like afraid of technology or something like that, or you're like a recluse or something like that. But then if you are on it, you are being judged. There was a time where you had to leave your house to be judged. And now you can do it from home. So
You get bullied from the comfort of your own home. We are privileged.
Yep.
Yeah. What, if anything, is perfect?
I feel like I can't think of anything where I'm just like, this entity is perfect all the time. But I will say there's moments of my life that feel very perfect, where there's that Kurt Vonnegut quote. I don't remember it exactly, but it's basically like, take a little time every once in a while, like acknowledge when things are very nice and just be like, oh, this is very nice. I think there have been a lot of perfect, I'm very fortunate to have had a lot of like perfect moments in my life where you know, and going back to kind of like depression and anxiety, you almost have to like hack your brain. You have to like, you have to in your mind be like, this is fun. You're having fun. This is nice. And it doesn't, you know, you need to do other things too, but there are times when it does help you appreciate things where you'll like stand back and you'll be like, all of my friends are here. Everyone's healthy. Isn't this wonderful? And isn't this perfect? And it feels perfect. And I have just memories that aren't even anymore like, it's not like, oh, the first kiss on our wedding day or something. It's like being in, you know, being on like a trip with Emily or something, and her like excitedly showing me something and me kind of like following her lead as she like pulls me through a city or something. Like, perfect moment. A bunch of my friends who hadn't seen each other in a while, we had all gone to different colleges. We'd all had different jobs. Some of us were in DC, some of us were in New York or whatever. All of us being together, we all made a trip down to DC. Everybody's like a little bit buzzed and just like kind of sitting back and seeing everybody talking to each other. And it's like perfect moment. And I think and going back to the cats, memory of getting Stevie, the mom cat who would sprint away to eat out of a spoon that we're holding, and eventually let us like pet her and stuff like that. It's just perfect moment. So I think there are times when the universe just aligns in such a everything just hits right. Like everybody has, I think, their own perfect moments where it's just you're in the perfect mood, or you're in a heightened mood, you're in like a good mood, something wonderful happens, and when those two things collide, I think that can kind of make a perfect moment.
Who is your favorite character from fiction of any kind, and why?
Oh boy, who is my favorite character from fiction? My first thoughts, and I'm having a flurry of thoughts because there are so many characters that are so important to me, and it's very hard to just pick one. But I might say Bilbo Baggins, because that is kind of just the perfect protagonist who doesn't want to go on an adventure, likes his little life in his little hobbit hole, and then goes out and finds like a thirst for adventure, like, and helps his allies in very unexpected ways, and is in many ways, when these dwarves come to the hobbit hole and take him on this adventure, they all seem like kind of the brave warriors, and they screw up constantly, and Bilbo always has to bail them out. And the sort of point in the Hobbit where it kind of like flips and Bilbo becomes the hero, I think is very it's squad goals for sure. I would say it's squad goals. I'm just kidding.
We're hashtag blessed to have it.
Yeah. We're hashtag blessed to have him in our lives. No, it's I think the Hobbit was always my favorite book, and it is important to me for like introducing me to fantasy, but then also my own personal preferences of like, I know most people are like, if you're gonna be a Lord of the Rings fan, then you like Lord of the Rings more than The Hobbit, because The Hobbit is like kind of a children's book. But I love just the self-contained simplicity of it. And as much as I love world building, and as much as I love like all of the background stuff, there's something so wonderful to me about just a simple story of somebody getting plucked out of very typical circumstances and getting thrown into a crazy adventure, and then learning and growing. And I think Bilbo is sort of the prototype for that. And yeah, I think my answer is Bilbo Baggins.
What is your most prized physical possession?
This is a little bit of a cheating answer. You can disqualify me if you'd like. But we talked about it a little bit on this Zoom call before we started. But I've got this like picture wall behind me, which is kind of a physical possession, because they're all kind of cool, kind of unique frames and things like that. I have one in my office, and I have one in our bedroom. I make memory walls that are like really cluttered together of just candid pictures of usually Emily when we like go on trips, or it'll be me and her in my office. I have a bunch of stuff from NADPOD from our tours and stuff, kind of more like work ones and like work friends and things like that. And I think I'm not a super sentimental person, but I am like a nostalgic person. So I don't super attach to, I won't be like, this jacket was given to me by someone very important to me. Like that stuff doesn't affect me as much. But to have like this kind of wall of pictures in these kind of like cool old timey frames and stuff, I'm very nostalgic for it. And I think it plays a little bit into my answer for, one of the previous questions too, of like these kind of like capturing these moments and things like that. And it brings me a lot of joy. And it reminds me a little bit of, in our first apartment in LA, I had a memory wall right over my desk where I worked. And it's a little bit like that Simpsons scene.
I was just about to say it. Do it
for her.
Yeah,
it's do it for her. It's like the do it for her thing. And I actually I got the idea from that. And then I think just like aesthetically, I really love like that kind of like English pub look, or like that like very Pinteresty cottagecore look of things just being like all cluttered together. So I like it. I really like it aesthetically, and I like kind of like finding weird frames or just buying lots of frames from people on Etsy, and then kind of taking that and making an art project out of it, and having these weird kind of collages on my walls.
What piece of media should everyone consume?
It's really strange that I'm struggling with this one more than I am about like the existential questions. Like this one is almost like a recommendation, but it's tricky because my favorite book is The Hobbit. Does everyone need to read The Hobbit? No, it's fine if you don't. I don't think it's gonna make your life any better unless you decide you're gonna be a dungeon master for your whole life. What is a piece of media that everyone... I'm trying to think of something that ticks a lot of boxes, because if I said everybody has to check this out, then it needs to be like a great story, and it needs to do some kind of good for society. I'm literally going to pull up my Spotify right now and be like, is there anything that everyone really, really needs to check out?
The collective works of Michael Bolton.
Yeah. Oh boy, what have I been listening to? Okay, it's very, very difficult for me to think of something, to think of a piece of media that everybody should check out, because I have very much put myself in a corner with all of this fantasy stuff, and I don't know that it's necessarily for everybody. It's not always everybody's thing. But I will say, I think one of my favorite bands has, since I guess I'm trying to think of how long ago it would have been, since high school, is Tegan and Sarah. And one of my favorite albums is called If It Was You. And I think if you have... I think one of the incredible things about Tegan and Sarah is that each of their evolution, usually when a band gets very different kind of with their later albums, or they go from being like very acoustic driven to being more like electric or pop or something, a lot of time it loses something, but it's almost they're kind of two very distinct different bands that are both brilliant. It's Tegan and Sarah's the only band maybe that has more than 3 or 4 albums that I love all of their albums, and they're all very, very different. And I think my emo boy heart really loves If It Was You, because it's just this kind of like folky album, but it's got these like pop sensibilities, and it really just makes you feel... I really love sad songs. I really, really love sad songs. And there are so many wonderful sad songs on that album. And yeah, I think the reason I would share this album with everybody, and I'm not really sharing anything. They're extraordinarily popular.
I've never heard of
some...
So,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. At least I could share it with one person. But I think the reason I would recommend Tegan and Sarah is just that if you find one album you like, I think now you have, 200 songs that you like now, and you have 6 other albums that you can listen to that are all wonderful and all different. They have, wonderful, like, more kind of poppy, like almost like dance songs. And then they have like the most kind of devastatingly beautiful, like acoustic, like almost like emo folk songs. And they've always been very important to me. And if you haven't already checked out massively popular band Tegan and Sarah, go back and check out their album If It Was You.
It's great because this year I did this back in 2017, but so sometimes I kind of forget that new things exist, and I have like the same Spotify thing going on and on, 170 songs that I just play on repeat forever. So what I do sometimes is, or I've done this before, I'm doing it again, is I'm listening to a new album every single week for a year.
Oh yeah, I've tried to do that, and it's like, it's so wonderful when you can do that, and it really expands your musical taste. And it's like getting out of shape or something. It's like you're like on like an exercise kick or something. And I do that, and I think that's a wonderful thing to do, and I would recommend everybody does it. But I always fall back into listening to the same bands I listened to in high school.
This week I was listening to a band called Of Montreal. You ever heard of them?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I'd never heard of them, and they are fucking sick. I listened to the Hissing Fauna, You the Destroyer. I was like, this is really good. I liked it. Yeah? Yeah, I really, really liked it. It wasn't something that I listened to, but their voice, the lead singer's voice, reminds me of someone, and I swear I can't put my finger on it. And it's like, it's so frustrating. But it's like Freddie Mercury meets Mika, do you know if meets like, okay, I don't even know. It's delightfully tantalizing. I found every song to be like, I gave it like what I do at the end of the week is I go to my friends. I've got these two friends who I just talk to music and other stuff about, everything about, and I give them my review of the album, and I was like, this album was fucking deadly, and I loved every second of it. You're
gonna put me on an Of Montreal kick, because as you're saying this, I'm like, I can't remember exactly what they sounded like. I know because they've been around for a while, so I think in college I may have listened to them a bit, so I will revisit them.
Yeah. This next question is my favorite question in the entire show. If you could name a hot sauce, what would you call it and why?
Oh boy, I am the least qualified person to name a hot sauce. I'm not tough when it comes to hot sauces, so it would be something. I think we'd go really extreme marketing for a mild sauce. So I think we'd call it Big Papa Murph's Wild Mild.
Okay.
And it would be extreme marketing. It would be me. I would be extremely muscular. And I would be wearing sunglasses, and I would be kind of like at a barbecue, and everybody else would be going wild there. There'd be somebody on an ATV, jumping, going off kind of a ramp. There would be, people water skiing and whatnot, sharks in the water. They also have sunglasses on. They are also extremely ripped. They are humanoids, and they are at the party. We're all having beers. We're all having fun, but we're all being wild. And but then when you have the sauce,
what inspires you?
I am inspired by other writers, by other artists. Especially one of the wonderful things of having my main job being to DM none other D&D podcast is that I get to incorporate things that I'm currently listening to or reading. Like if you listen to the first campaign, you can tell what I'm into at the time. You can hear The Witcher in NADPOD. You can hear, I got like heavy into The Witcher. You can hear some like Brandon Sanderson novels, like the Stormlight Archive stuff, and it's so fun to be reading a book and to be like, oh, this is a really cool world. This is super interesting. I'm gonna go play in it now. And to then just get to like take that type of thing, like, oh, I want to do something with like, oh, what a cool world where you're a monster hunter and you're Geralt of Rivia and you go around and you're a mercenary who like kills monsters. I'm gonna go create a world now where people hunt monsters or something like that. Yeah, I've always ever like since I was a little kid and everything. Anytime I watched something that inspired me or something, it would be like instantly I would need to go down and write. I guess at the time, like there weren't fan fiction communities or anything, but I was writing fan fiction, you know what I mean? Where like I had a notepad file on my computer. So it was like not formatted at all, not anything. This was probably like 1993 or I guess, no, I didn't get a computer until I think like 95 or 96. So I was maybe like 10 years old. And I would go and I would just write. I had a Zelda story that I was working on for like 2 years. And I would just every day just like add to it a little bit. And it was all while I was playing these games, like while I was playing like Ocarina of Time and everything. And that's just how I've always been. And that still is how I am. Where if I'm feeling really, really stuck, I will just start consuming a bunch of stuff and be like, do I want to do like a Bloodborne type thing? Maybe I'll play Bloodborne for a while and get into some kind of like gothic horror thing, or I'll basically like anytime I read a book or something, I get to kind of get ideas for a campaign. And that's also the advantage to doing D&D versus doing, you know, kind of traditional fiction is as a DM, you're kind of encouraged to like grab things from different worlds and everything. Whereas like if I just like, you know, read the Witcher books and then wrote my own book, it would just be a copy of The Witcher and that would be bad. And like that's not allowed. That's plagiarism. You're not allowed to do that. You shouldn't do that. But particularly with running Not Another D&D podcast, it's been very great to just watch a bunch of media, grab a little from everything, and then, you know, the cast, a lot of them aren't maybe familiar with some of the things I'm referencing, and thus we together we come up with something that's kind of wholly new and unique.
Fuck yeah. Like I was about to mention, as we were saying, because I remember listening to that, I was like, there's a lot of The Witcher here, and this is done really well. Even in the music, it was like, oh, I can see these motifs coming through here, and
yeah, that's so Emily does the music, and when she is preparing an episode, we do like almost like audio mood boards where she'll be like, what are you imagining for this? And we'll be like, oh, it's kind of like Diablo or like The Witcher when you're inside like a cave or something like that. So that it very much plays into the music as well, and not just kind of the narrative, but it is like we have whatever we're kind of, you know, inspired by at the time. If we're like, oh, we're in the catacombs or something, this feels very Diablo. Let's listen to some Diablo music and stuff and like figure out something that's kind of similar. Yeah.
Did you ever have an epiphany? If so, what was it about?
It's very funny and also very on brand for me that almost all of my things involve work, but it is like what I'm passionate about, and even my relationship, we are, you know, work partners. Like we do a lot of creative things, but I would say like an epiphany I had that does involve work a little bit, but like kind of expands to like my life as a whole, is that I was very goal oriented when I was younger, and I always wanted to be a comedian. If you had asked me when I was like, you know, 12 or 13 years old what I wanted to do, I would say like I want to be on SNL. I want to do all those kind of classic things that make you a comedy writer or make you a comedy performer. And as I got older, when I was like in my 20s, I would listen to, you know, all the like podcasts by comedians with like comedians shooting the breeze and stuff, and I would go to open mics. I would do stand up while I was writing comedy at College Humor and everything, and I was very, very obsessed with it. And I was obsessed with it in a healthy way and an unhealthy way, in that like that was my passion. I did love it, but on the other hand, it was, you know, I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to have success in the same way that I wanted it when I was like 12 or 13. And I would say Emily and I did a TV show together called Hot Date, and I've done a couple other shows and everything. And it wasn't, you know, SNL or anything like that. It wasn't as one-to-one of like, you know, your dreams coming true, but it was a little bit of like, well, this is what you wanted. You wanted to be on TV. You wanted to write and perform, and now you are doing that. But as I was doing that, it's like you are now at the mercy of what TV networks think. You are at the mercy of dozens of middlemen who don't have your or the audience's best interests in mind. They, you know, they're trying to sell something, and you're trying to make something. And after that, and kind of the surprise kind of hits of NADPOD and D20, of getting to make things with friends, and have, especially in NADPOD, where it's like, you know, we are the company, just the four of us, where we get to own everything and do whatever we want. And it's just making things with friends. I am more satisfied with the work I'm doing now than I ever was when I was trying to climb some ladder, or I was trying to tick off boxes of my kind of bucket list. Like right now, if somebody was like, hey, we want you to come star in a movie, but you'd have to stop NADPOD, I would say no. There's the type of work that I would like to do now is to just work with people I respect, work with people I really like, and make things that I'm proud of. And I would say the particular epiphany was like, you don't have to have the same goals forever. You're not giving up by deciding that you don't want to do something. If you had asked me when I was like 24 or 25, it's like, what do you want to do? Well, I want to, maybe if not be on SNL or something, it's like, I want to work at like 30 Rock. I want to work at 30 Rockefeller Center. I want to go in. I want to be a real comedy writer with a capital C. I want to be a real like working writer and work in the same places like all of these legends and everything. But I think as I got older, when I really thought about that stuff, it's like, I don't like high pressure situations. I don't like, you know, like just the idea of, I would be a terrible fit for SNL. I think it's like probably pretty high pressure. There's, you know, new hosts every week. There's all this like social pressure and everything. And I'm terrible at that. I do much, much better with people I know and people I trust. And so, yeah, my epiphany was just, if you find a road that you're going down and it feels good, don't feel like you need to double back and try to force something to happen. It's like, that's, you know, wanting to be that type of writer got me to where I am and helped me meet the people that I wanted to meet and everything. But I don't need to ever be on camera ever again, honestly. Seriously, like that would be fine. I think there's, I don't know that it's a concrete theme, but I feel like a kind of reoccurring thing that I always tend to do in my work is these like, I do a lot of characters that are kind of shitheads on the outside, but are actually very nice people, or they grow. Maybe it's about growth. Maybe it's about, you know, finding some heart in otherwise kind of cynical cynical work. I kind of come at it from I don't know if I would say cynical, but like a grumpy perspective, but then kind of having a heart about it. I think that was true of Hot Date. Emily and I's characters, we were always awful, but at the heart of it, it was always we really cared about each other. And so it was like we were never going to betray each other. We came up with that idea while we were writing it. We were like, the idea of these characters isn't that they're completely against everyone and only for themselves. It's the idea that it's them versus the world. So there's something sweet about that, of being like, I will lie, cheat, and steal for you, and you will do that for me. And in a way that's kind of beautiful, even though the characters are kind of awful people. Like they're like, our characters in that are bad. But in NADPOD, it's a little bit of the same thing of they're very funny and ridiculous, and a lot of times we do very dumb things or we attach to very dumb jokes or whatever. But I think at the heart of them, they're all very good people who kind of care deeply about each other and the world at large. And so I think maybe a theme that I constantly go to is rough exterior, soft, chewy inside.
How do you feel about death?
I say this now because I'm very privileged in that I haven't had any like big health scares or anything. So I can say right now that I don't have a fear of death. I don't know if that would change if things suddenly became very dire. I have a fear of other people in my life dying, but I think overall because I am a very nostalgic person, I think I have a fascination with death in the idea of this is going to sound very like pseudo philosophical or something, but just the idea of somebody going from a physical form to becoming a memory. Just growing up, I was very, very into Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, and just this idea that this person is 27 years old forever, and I am older than him now, but when I was a kid, I really, the music meant a lot to me, and I really looked up to him. And there's this almost like, I wouldn't go, it's music, so it's not, you don't get that like familiar feeling of being like, oh, this person, they were like an older brother to me or something. But it's like, you do put these people on a pedestal when you enjoy their art, and it does feel like they are special to you. And so it is weird to have people that you look up to who then, when you're older, you look back and you go like, they were kids too, So that sort of mind fuck is something that messes with me. And then I think the same thing with just like, I'm always fascinated with just like other time periods and things. And like, I really love, I don't watch live sports very often, but I love the stories of sports. I love to watch like documentaries about sports. Yeah.
I love that. I hate sports. Fucking love sports documentaries. They're deadly.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. It's because like, I think it's like anything else where in order to get into the game, you really need to know all the ins and outs and you have to dedicate yourself to it. But if you're not going to do that, if you just watch a documentary, you'll get just the cool parts of it. And, you'll watch like a 30 for 30 or some other sports documentary or something. and you get all the thrill as if like you were one of the fans or something. But like I like these like old sports stars and everything, like going back and watching like old Muhammad Ali fights, or just seeing like all of these people in their primes in these completely different worlds that just doesn't exist anymore. But at the time, it was just as important to them as, you know, anything in our lives is to us. And I don't know if there was a story that I read. I think it literally might have been on like a Reddit thread or something, or it might be from some like piece of media. I'm not really sure, but I remember a story that kind of profoundly impacted me, which was an old woman looking at herself in the mirror and saying, "This isn't what I look like." It's so, and because to her, she, you know, that's not who she identifies as. She's not an old woman. She's the you know, lady in the 20s who was like going out to clubs and dancing and, you know, meeting whoever she would fall in love with, and, you know, all of those exciting things that happen in our lives. And I have a fascination with it of just this idea that these things come and go, and someday we will come and go, but it's all, you know, it's all important.
That story,
isn't it devastating? It's devastating. It's devastating, but it's beautiful too. Of, you know, it's cool. She, you know, that's not how she sees herself. So she, you know, she lives in a different time. You know what I mean?
Like I asked my dad about this once. I was like, inside your head, like if you picture yourself, what do you look like? He's like, I'm about 27.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's weird, huh?
Yeah.
And I started estrogen like in December, and one of the things that it did for me was like it kind of put back the clock. So I feel about 17.
Yeah. Wow.
This is weird because there is 5 years of experience which I don't feel like I know it was me and I remember it. I feel like it was me, but also it's like, well, none of that kind of happened because I'm 17 years old, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's wild.
Oh, wow.
Just on your sports documentary thing, have you ever watched Catholics and Convicts? Catholics versus Convicts.
I don't know. Is that Notre Dame versus...
Yes, versus the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I don't know if I saw that one. I think I think that's like one of the ones that I've like scrolled past before, but I will have to.
Yeah, it's really good. Like this is the thing. I don't even like American football. I don't even like any sports, right? At all. Now, in saying that, whenever I go to the States, I watch MLS games because I'm like, this is fun. And my sports is kind of a miasma in my household, but like through soccer and stuff. But I sat down and I remember it super clearly. I was like, Catholics versus convicts. I thought it was going to be like a historical uprising documentary, and it was like, no, this is a sports documentary, and I'm interested. And that was the first sports documentary I ever met. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I've watched a load of them since. I've watched like the Michael Jordan stuff. I've watched stuff on curling, like professional curling.
Okay. Yeah.
It rocks. It fucking rocks.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things about it is that as a non-sports fan watching these documentaries, it's like as if you're watching it for the first time. So you don't know if the Bulls win.
Yeah.
Like you're watching this documentary and you're almost at this point you're like a Bulls fan, and I'm sure if you were a fan at the time, it's very fun to watch and everything, but I'm watching and I'm like, I don't remember how many finals they won. I don't know if they win at this part. It's like watching sports, but like the cliff notes of sports.
Yes.
Well, also it's, you just get to be a huge nerd about it where it's like, I want the story. I don't want the,
There is a YouTube channel which you are going to love. It's called Summoning Salt. Have you ever heard of Summoning Salt?
No.
Summoning Salt does world record video game speedrunning documentaries. It is insane, and you're like,
oh,
it is.
I think I've seen the one about Punch Out.
Yes.
That was a great. Yes, I love it. I love it.
He does loads of them. He does like Mario Kart ones, and I'm like, I would never sit down and play Mario Kart for 10 hours.
Yeah,
but I want Matt Turk to win. I want
Matt.
Yes. Check out some of the Salt stuff. I fucking love him. He's so cool.
Yeah. I think that has the same appeal as like sports things of being like a thing I'm not particularly into, but if you tell me the story behind it, I will care about it,
Which leads perfectly into the next question, which is, what makes you smile?
I'm a big contagious laughter person. Other people laughing makes me very happy. I love. I'm gonna go back to cats. Cats just make me happy. I love that they're such independent creatures, and that you really have to earn their trust, and that each one is truly so unique. So I think anytime a cat decides that it wants to spend time with me or follows me around, I feel very blessed. I feel like this creature that does not need me, that knows how to hunt, that knows how to do all this, knows how to take care of itself, has decided that it wants to hang out with me. And we can't communicate in any way that's, one-to-one. We can only communicate by like kind of looking at each other and being like, hey, do you want to hang out? And so, that always just, seeing a cat on the street makes me very, very happy. Trying to like earn its, trying to like pet a stray cat. And then just like seeing our cats walking around the house, and it's like a like back when I lived with roommates or something, where you'd be in the living room and you'd have like somebody like pop in and say hey, and you hang out for a little bit and then you both go your own ways. That's what cats are. They're more like roommates than they are your pets. So yeah, they really make me laugh. The kitten that we brought in from outside is now like a year and a half old, and she just squeaks at us all the time and is like always asking for things, but then just like purrs very loud and can be very affectionate, but is also just such an asshole. And she just really makes me laugh, and they're all just like very different. And just whenever I see a cat, I'm very excited. I'm like a little kid. Like, have you ever been around a little kid that just really likes cats because they have been told by their parents or something that they like can't have one or something, and so they become like really obsessed with them? Or a lot of kids, they want to pet the cat, but they can't because they don't know how to be gentle yet. And same thing with like kids who really want like horses growing up or something like that. I'm a cat boy. I love cats.
Do not Google cat boy. Different thing.
Yeah.
It's like me with hedgehogs. So I've never had the sort of visceral reaction to any animal ever, but I see pictures of hedgehogs and I'm like, that's a boy. That's a boy in his happy space, and I just want to rub him. And you can't hug a hedgehog because they'll fucking hurt you.
Yeah,
literally. I love them so much.
And then if you ever rescue one or something like that, then you will get even more into it, and then you will just become a full-on hedgehog obsessive.
Tell me about something you learned recently that amused you. This is also the only question in the show which I also answer. This week, the thing that amused the shit out of me, which I only learned yesterday, is that the word hentai means pervert. I don't know. I didn't know I didn't know what that meant before. Like, every single week, it's random. Like, last week it was South Africa won the World Cup in 1995. But this week, through a random turn of events, I'm doing, like, Duolingo. I'm like, I've seen that word before. Why is Duolingo showing me the word
hentai? Like, yeah. What are you trying to do to me?
Yeah. I was like, that's what it means. Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. But okay, yeah, that just amused the shit out of me. I was like, Mom, look.
Oh man. I think this is gonna very much date your show. But Trump just did a press conference at it's called Four Seasons Landscaping, and at first people were like, why did he do this? I guess it was because it was this big open space, but then all these theories started popping up, and I believe it. I think it's true. And okay, so I found out that Trump had originally tweeted that he was doing his press conference at the Four Seasons, and then I believe deleted it and then changed it to Four Seasons Landscaping. So there's this theory that he thought he was doing it at a Four Seasons, but then ended up doing it at a they found out that this was actually a landscaping place and then just went with it. And the idea of that was just making me really laugh so much last night, of just how many people need to make huge mistakes, and what a funny way for this fucking loser to just lose even harder after losing. It's like a movie. It's like a bad guy at the end of a movie has already lost, then just getting sprayed with water by a car driving by. It tickled me. It tickled me so much.
It's like that scene in Ferris Bueller where the principal is what, or like the dude. Have you seen Ferris Bueller? Yeah, where the pants is ripped and he like gets onto the bus. It's fantastic.
It's a cartoon. Yeah. It is a cartoon. So that truly made me laugh.
Just in case anyone does listen to this in 5 years, Donald Trump was the president of the United States. He was a total cock.
How wonderful would it be if people didn't know that? How wonderful would it be if it was forgotten? But
he was a cock, and if you don't know his name, we've all done a good job.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Yes,
but yes, that amused the shit out of me as well. Yes. What is beautiful?
I feel like this is going to be a little similar to my what is perfect thing. I think for something to be beautiful, I think it is a kind of mix of something inside of you and then also something on the outside that you're experiencing. I think that for something to be beautiful, I think maybe it should be rare or fleeting. It should feel special. And then I think that is my like quote unquote deep answer. And then my knee-jerk answer is, again, just love a sad song. I love kind of it's dangerous if taken too far, this like idea of kind of like romanticizing sadness. But I do think that as a way to cope, sometimes it is nice to just be like, it's nice that I care so much about something and that it can hurt me. And the listening to a sad song and like kind of being nostalgic and things like that, I think it's beautiful to be able to care about things that are not here anymore.
Like 3 Days Grace just.
Yeah, they rip it up. It's so funny that you say that band, because literally in the next season of Dimension 20, I play a new metal shithead, and my like one of my go-to bands to bring up is 3 Days Grace.
They're so angry at everything.
Yeah.
I love it. I love everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of a little bit of a masochist in that on really beautiful, serene days, I'll throw on like, Blink-182, 3 Days Grace, and I'll just say like beautiful day, and I'm like, everything sucks, and this is awesome, and I'll kind of flick my hair.
Yeah.
Because I never got that when I was like 15, 16, 17. But I have all the teenage angst now, so I'm like, yeah, so good.
Yeah, I love like actual, just like real meaningful, sad songs. But then I also like, I'll throw on some new metal and just like be mad. I'm not above it. I'm not above it.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. It's human.
It's a again, going back to like the Applebee's thing. It's like it's the fast food of emotions is new metal, and I'm okay. I'm cool with it every once in a while. Like it's so funny. I will literally go on private on my Spotify to listen to like new metal or like old pop punk, because I'm like, I'm too old for this. I'm too old for anyone to catch me listening to Disturbed right now.
Yeah, the Disturbed, or like the sad covers of, or I think the pitched down, reverb high covers of like pop songs. Just this is 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon. Most of my friends are like playing PlayStation. I should be doing something else, but I'm not. Let's just be sad for a little bit. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you describe yourself as cute and cuddly?
No.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Next question.
Fuck
you.
Yeah. No, I think no, I'm too I'm too intense. I'm way too intense. I'm the last person that, if you are panicking about something and you need somebody to panic with, I am your guy. If you need although I'm okay under pressure, but I'm a very much like, okay, this something bad just happened, we need to call this person, or we need to do this thing. Like, I'm good at taking responsibility, but I am not good at I'm just not a soft and cuddly person. And I think it's sort of a combination of sort of the always going, like just having all of this anxiety and being like pretty intense, and then the ways I deal with that is by giving into kind of the fun parts of the way that my brain messes with me is like, since I do like obsess over things, it is nice to have passions that I'm into that I can obsess over. So if I can get super, super into something, it can be fun. So I'm always just on the attack. So the passiveness of being like cuddly or something, it's like I'm just at full speed. I'm the last person you want to like, comfort you or something like that. Like I'm empathetic and things like that, but I am I'm panicking. Panicking at all times. You don't want me to calm you down. I will, if you
feel better now. Bah!
Yeah. Just like, let's figure this out. It's just like, I think I'm paranoid that like, this person doesn't like me. Do you think they don't like both of us? Dude, what do you think we should do?
Let's get him a bouquet of flowers. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, let's figure this out. Let's figure this out.
Like that. I understand that. Like, that question is there because I wouldn't have 5 years ago, like, missed my team. I would have been like, no, I'm a fucking, like, I'm a stone rock, I'm a stone cold killer. And now I'm like, no, I'm super cute and I'm cuddly and fucking.
Yeah. that's wonderful. Yeah, I think I have the same kind of experience with it, except I land on the opposite side, which is that probably, a bunch of years ago, I would have been like, yeah, like, I'm not going to complain about that stuff. I'm too tough. And then, like, now I'm like, no, I still am a maniac, but it is because of, the way I'm wired and all of these things. And, like, it's nothing to be proud of. It is just kind of the way it is. And it is the way I like to operate. I like kind of operating at this, like, fast speed. So it's, I would say a few years ago I would have been like proud of being like kind of like guarded or whatever, but now I'm like, I'm not guarded. There's just alarm bells going off in my head and I can't hear anything. I can't relax. I'm sorry.
Like, as you were mentioning obsessions there, and like currently with everything that's going on, like the last couple of weeks of lockdown has been super tough on me. And 2 days ago I decided, no, every single night this week I'm going to stay up really late. I'm going to play PlayStation until 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I've been like getting obsessed with Apex Legends and just playing stupid demands of it, because there's a character in Apex whose name is Octane, and his entire thing is speed. I'm like, I'm gonna be like, I play Octane. I'm gonna be fucking bounce off this guy. Fuck you. It's like murder makes me feel good. I'm like, oh god, that's is this who I am? I don't know.
I think there's something very cathartic about. I love, like, a lot of times I see people online like kind of shaming or like self-shaming, being like obsessed with a game or something like that. And I think it can be problematic for your life if you don't do your responsibilities or something. But to me, to have something that I'm really looking forward to at the end of the day or something, or to have, to be able to dive into an obsession is awesome. It's super fun. Like it's rare for me now. I feel like I start a lot of games and I give up on them, even really good ones that like I acknowledge are good and I should have more patience with. It's very rare for me. But when I do find a game that I'm super into, what a lovely thing to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna work during the day. I'm fortunate enough to have fun doing my work, and then at the end of my day, I will jump into a different obsession and be obsessed with that. And I think that it's a good escape too. I think it's good for workaholics to play video games.
For me at the present moment, that's kind of been my savior. It's over there. That's why I gestured that way. But it's kind of been my savior for. Now it does mean I'm in this chair like a lot, but it's good.
Yeah, I have the same kind of thing where I don't know what to do with myself sometimes after working a lot, and sometimes I will just sit there and just be looking at my phone. And it's such I don't think playing video games or watching movies or watching TV is a waste of time. I think if you're enjoying yourself, you're not wasting your time. When I'm just looking at my phone, that sucks. That's no fun. So if I have a game that I'm obsessed with, and so if I'm doing work that I enjoy and then playing a game that I enjoy, that's a great day to me, even if I haven't quote unquote done anything productive.
Well, what are you playing anything at the minute that's like capturing?
I am. Oh my goodness. Are you familiar with EverQuest?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it was kind of for anyone who hasn't played EverQuest, it is the MMORPG that predates World of Warcraft. So it's old. I used to play it when I was a kid, in like I guess like end of middle school and then high school. It is an old game. I think it came out in 1998 or something like that. They still update it. They still do it. And it's what I love about it is that it is such like a dry game that I can't recommend it to anyone. Like, it's not. The reason I really like it is because it allows me to listen to books and podcasts and stuff while I play a game, because I love listening to books. I in the US we have an an app called Libby that lets you connect to like your local library and download audiobooks for free, and it's wonderful. And so I love listening to books, but I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with myself. So I need like visual stimulation, or I need to like move around or something. So if I'm going for a walk, or I always have headphones in. If I'll go for a walk, or I'll just like pace around the house like a maniac, or I'll do whatever. But EverQuest has made it easy for me to essentially read while I'm doing something else. So it's like it's just the right amount of engagement where it takes 10% of my brain to play the game, and then the other 90% I can just get lost in something else.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because NADPOD, I listen to NADPOD while playing Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
I play Titanfall. I'm like, this is class. I've played Titanfall enough, and I'm so good at it now that I don't need to think about playing it. I'm like, oh, I'm at the top of the leaderboard, but Balnor just rolled something I need to pay attention.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I do the same thing with like Bloodborne and Dark Souls and stuff. These games that you die a lot in and you have to keep replaying the same thing. So I do almost like a run through of an area where for the first however long I'm playing that part of the game, the sound design is usually really good, and there's usually like great music and everything like that. So I do live in that for a little bit. But once it gets to the point where you have to like grind for something, or you're in the same area for a long time, or something gets frustrating, I turn the sound off, I put headphones on, and I put on a book, and then it just becomes like it's just like, I guess I'll get better at rolling around so I don't die in Dark Souls. But like I don't need to hear the skeletons walking towards me. It's like, it's fine.
Where do you feel safest?
Where do I feel safest? I would say in my home during the day. I think the feeling of kind of mourning, MORNING, not with the U, because that would be sad if I felt safe in a state of mourning. No, I think like as a kid I had a lot of nightmares, and I've always been this way with like anxiety and everything. And I did, as a kid, I would literally sit and watch my door and wait for somebody to come in. And I would just be like, I need to be vigilant. I need to make sure that nothing bad happens. And I would just watch my door, and it would take me so long to fall asleep. And it's just that like the sun coming up in the morning has always been very comfortable for me, because I think that I think that being around other people, and I like looking out my window and seeing people going for walks and stuff. There's something very unsettling about being alone. It seems like somebody could get you. It's so, yeah, I guess like morning. Like first thing in the morning is probably when I feel the safest, and it's just like I realize my first reaction to this is to like almost talk about like physical safety, because that is like, I don't know, it's something that has, because of how intense my anxiety was as a little kid, some of that stuff carries over into adulthood. And like when I'm sitting around at night, like at my desk, I'm not sitting here thinking like somebody's gonna break in and like hurt me or something like that. But there is just this general, I'm just used to, I grew up with this a little bit like of this feeling of dread about it being like 3 a.m. and being awake. So the opposite of that, like a new day, makes me feel safe. It's interesting. I love the nighttime. I don't know that I like day more than night, but I feel much safer during the day. I think like going to sleep has always been a really, really hard thing for me, and it still is to this day, because back in the day when I was a little kid, it would be like all this kind of like imaginary stuff. And now at night, now I feel like as an adult, I'm like, it is my responsibility to hear if something goes wrong or something like that. And we've got, as I said before, we've got a million cats that we're responsible for. So we've got like cats in the backyard just like banging around all the time. And then we've got the three cats that live in our home. And so they're always making noise. But I feel like it's my job to like, it's like if there's an intruder, I need to handle it. So I'm like, I feel like I'm like a watchman. It's like a job. And so I, on any given night, I'll maybe not on any given night, but like, like once or twice a week, I'll like get up and like do like a sweep, which is like nuts.
If you were on a starship, what position would you hold?
I think my ambition would make me want to be the captain, but I think I would also be good at like I don't watch much sci-fi. Is there a first mate of a starship?
There is like a number one type character.
I'd be a good number one because I'm, as a warrior, I'd be a good number one because I think you'd probably want a captain that was like a little bit cooler than me that could relax so that I could be up all night being like, we are headed straight for that black hole. I just know it's coming for us. And I think I could really help everybody get in line and everything. I think my best use on a starship would be to filter my anxieties into being useful information.
Do you think there is more good than bad in the world?
I think that most people are fundamentally good, but I think that we are all kind of caught up in our own stuff, that it is hard to fight evil. And I think evil pops up in a couple ways. There are the actual like, cartoonish villains who are actually trying to do harm for profit, that are actual crooks. And there are a lot of those people in power, whether it be in politics or whether it be at the heads of corporations and whatnot. So the evil is very powerful. And I think good needs to use numbers, needs to use numbers to win. And I think we all can be doing better. I speak for myself when I say that, I don't know, you just get really caught up in your own anxieties, or like if you're dealing with like depression or something, it's very, very easy to be very like inward focused and not think of, or to just dread, to just be kind of like sad about the state of the world and not to like, kind of do things to try to make it a better place. So I think a lot of us are like tilt towards good, but maybe don't do enough. And then there are people who are just like, they completely put society and put other people before themselves. And those people are fundamentally, wonderful. And then we can kind of follow their lead and give strength to their cause. And then unfortunately there is the other side to that, which is that there are very powerful, evil people. And then there are people who kind of tilt towards, I would say the lesser kind of side of evil is just, complacency and kind of just, not my problem, kind of a type of way of thinking about the world. And I think that kind of empowers evil people. But I would say any given person, probably a good person, and you just got to hope that they've hitched their wagon to the right horse, if that makes sense.
How do you forgive?
My my first instinct is to forgive pretty easily. If I think as kind of a way to avoid conflict, almost. I'm quick to forgive, but I won't forget something. And then, if I think there's the initial forgiveness, right, that comes out of almost trying to just squash the awkwardness. And then there's a more sort of earned forgiveness that comes if you see the person change, or if you see the person, there's a level of forgiveness where you can like almost become like proud of the person, you know what I mean? For taking positive steps and for changing. And there's another level of it where, you can forgive somebody at least like on the surface and just be like, yeah, it's fine. But then like you don't like them as much anymore. And that happens maybe a little bit more frequently than somebody like really like profoundly changing or something like that. But I do think it is important to forgive people if they really, really put in the effort to grow and to be a different person. So I would say I forgive easily at first, but secretly I'm watching.
If you could give just one piece of advice, what would that be?
If you're happy, just go with it. Going back to kind of the epiphany question, I think everybody has ideas of how their life would turn out, and they wanted it to have been one thing, and you can kind of see yourself as a failure if it doesn't go exactly how you wanted. But I don't know, just in retrospect, just the best times, the things that I care about the most now that have stuck with me are when I had, great moments with my friends or with my partner. And if you wanted to be a movie star, but instead you started a family and you love your family, then that's a beautiful thing. Just, run down that road. Don't look back.